UFC Tampa is officially the final card of 2024, but it's a good card. We should go out with a bang. This is one of the better fight nights on the entire year. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC Tampa fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. But before we do that, let's spend 30 seconds and talk about UFC 310. Overall, it's kind of a letdown of a card. On paper, it was very good. We had some really spectacular matchups. The undercard set us up. The undercard had us thinking that the main card was going to deliver, but it didn't. We had a couple of sketchy decisions. Some of them helped us. And we had a lot of cage control, ground control, not a ton of damage. If you want the full recap, my full raw reaction that was filmed immediately following the event, this is the thumbnail. There is a Home Alone face, and I talk about every single fight in detail. Check that out on the channel. And in that video, I'll talk about how good the bets were. We absolutely smoked UFC 310. UFC 310 was a very profitable event for us. And we tend to deliver. We have been delivering consistently over the last, 8 months or so. This has been a spectacular year for Angie and the boys. And I said boys plural, and I know it's just Jacob, but me and Jakey boy have been delivering. UFC 310 specifically, a combined 37% ROI. I gave you 61. Jacob gave you 37. And we found our spots. We avoided a couple of landmines, and we delivered on those bets. But UFC 310 wasn't unique in its own little vacuum. The safety parlay, 8 of the last 9 events. The only event I missed was UFC Macau, and I missed pretty dramatically, honestly. No, I missed by 1 minute, and the woman got kicked in the head and probably died. So that's karma for her for not going another minute. But the reality is safety parlay is the beacon of stability. Safety parlay is just one single bet that I offer every single week. And it hits with an 80% ROI from one single bet. And if we zoom out even further, we look at the last 14 events, been crushing that too. This is what stability and consistency looks like. It's easy to lose a couple of weeks, have one monster week, lose 12 weeks in a row, talk about this is the worst year ever, it's my worst betting year, I don't know what's going on, have one good week, pretend you're good at this, and then go back to losing. That's easy. What's not easy is being up 12 of the last 14 fight cards, having basically 14 units of net profit over that time span, a 25% ROI over that time span. There is not a single premium member that has managed to lose money over the last X number of months. Because even though we didn't have the best UFC Paris, UFC Macau, Jakey boy, put up wild numbers. And one miss at UFC Paris was made up for by loaded cards in front of it, loaded cards behind it with profit. The reality is, guys, I don't know how we're this good at this, but we are. And there's people right now fuming. Their head is red as shit, basically as red as Jacob's, and just angrily typing, but you guys, that's, shut up, you dweeb hater nerd, window licking. What else do I got that won't get me canceled? Anyway, we've been doing really, really well. Genuinely, really well. I don't know how. We watch the tape, we look at it, we break it down, we put our money where our mouth is, and somehow it's delivering. If you want to unlock all the picks, the bets, the tools, and everything else right now, for not only UFC Tampa, but that $10 is for an entire month. The next fight card after the jump is included. And you know what's going to happen over the next 3 weeks? Every single fight card will be broken down. There will be a video exactly like this, and there will be bets on the board. That includes UFC 311, which is stacked to the top. UFC Vegas 101. We're coming in hot. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It's freaking $10, you cheap sons of bitches. And it's more than just some copy-paste bets. You're going to get tools. Data Analyzer. This is the most important tool going into the break. Period. End of story. It has every single fight card loaded clean through 2025. Every single fighter, all the announced matchups, and all the data points. You can do your tape study. You can look at the data, the insight, the information, and you can get ahead of the line movement. Last thing your lazy ass wants to do is show up January, whatever the hell, and wonder how Angelo got a fighter at plus 110, now they're minus 250. That would be stupid. Unlock it all. The DraftKings Optimizer, the line movement tracker, the prop hunter. Right now, WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. Also, we just filmed the UFC 310 vlog. I filmed it yesterday. was a very interesting day, to say the least, and that vlog hopefully will be out in the next day or two. I will be filming another vlog before the year is up, a holiday vlog. We use the break. We do some things. If you want to send some mail, we'll read the letters, we'll open the things, we'll do it all. We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406 in Prosper, Texas, 75078. Let's go ahead and break down this card. Before I deep dive Josefine, Knutsson, and Piera Rodriguez, Jakey Boy will be at this event. He'll be at UFC Tampa. 2 weeks ago, we talked about Jacob, right? I had Aljamain Sterling's rum, and I said, let's do a drinking game. Anytime he says cereal gone, I will take a shot on the stream. And I said, don't tell him, you snitches. You guys didn't snitch. That's actually incredible. 35,000 of you watched those videos, and you didn't snitch, so I can trust you. Let's fuck with him. I don't know how, but let's fuck with him a little bit. Maybe anybody who is at UFC Tampa, and we've seen in the comments and in the Discord, a ton of you are going to be at UFC Tampa. Maybe if you see him, you go up to him and without saying any other words, hey, where's Angelo? Because that would bother him more than anything we could do. Because if I made you go up to him and like call him a name, he'll figure it out pretty quick. Or he'll just think we're joking. But if you go up to him and you dismiss that he exists, and you're just asking about the one person that can get under his skin, which is me, hey, where's Angelo? Is Angelo here? That would bother him to his core. It would be, if it was reversed, it would bother me. That would bother him to his core. Or, oh, I thought you were taller. Something like that. Let's figure it out. And as soon as you see him, you don't say hi, you don't say hello, you don't say Jacob, Salaman, none of it. Just that. Then you can get into your conversation. And then over the course of a couple of days, he'll be like, Jesus Christ, I thought people liked me. And we will slowly, this is called mental warfare. We will slowly chip away at his confidence and break him down. Because that's what we do. First up, at UFC Tampa, we have Josefine Knutsson taking on Piera Rodriguez. And it's actually Piera. Whatever. Rodriguez. I'll tell you right now, there's a couple fights on this card where the odds make no sense. This is one of them. Josefine Knutsson's a big-time favorite, minus 225 favorite here. And I get it. She's an accomplished kickboxer. She uses forward pressure. She likes to throw combinations. She'll overwhelm her opponents. The volume is impressive on the way in, and she does a really good job blasting your legs, kicking when she's coming out of the pocket. And while she is a striker, she has a little bit of grappling, mostly looking for cage control. But if it ends up on top, she's got some solid pressure. Takedown defense, not very good, and her constant forward pressure can open her up to be taken down. She's coming off that decision win over Julia Palastri, where she was taken down 3 times. But she is fighting a striker here. Piera Rodriguez is a pretty nasty striker. She's got some very real finishing ability. She'll plot forward. She'll let her hands fly. And she knows exactly what she's doing. But she does wing some punches from her hips instead of staying nice and tight. She has pretty good takedown defense herself at 66%. She's defensively sound on the ground. But plenty of takedown offense. 13 takedowns in 5 fights. Her issue, though, is control on top. She is coming off that bizarre DQ loss to Ariana Carnelozzi, where she was winning the fight, got frustrated in the second round that she couldn't pass Ariana's guard, and just said, boom, welcome to 1993 MMA, and just headbutted the shit out of her. And this is what we're going to do here, boys and girls. A few of you are girls. Not many, but some. We're going to pick Josefine Knutsson because she's a better striker. I think she'll use the range and touch up Piera from the outside. But we are betting on Piera Rodriguez because Josefine Knutsson is a 2-1 favorite here, which means we will get that plus 3.5 bet, that spread. And we're going to get it at some decent odds. We're essentially going to be buying points on the judge's scorecard if this is a new concept to you. And the way that the math works out, the way the math boils down, we essentially need Piera Rodriguez to win one single round. And if she can win one round on all the judges' scorecards, then we're Gucci, baby. And these are cool kid terms. When you win some money betting on stuff, you start to talk like a cool kid. And that's what's happening here. So if Piera has success grappling and wins a round, which she can do, even if she loses the next 2, that bet hits. If she wins outright, the bet hits. If she loses a split decision, the bet hits. The only way we lose this bet is if Piera Rodriguez gets smoked, 30-27 across the board, or obviously finished. And I'm oversimplifying the breakdown here, but the reality is these odds are kind of crazy. The wideness here seems a little nuts to me. So when that drops for Piera Rodriguez, we're going to go ahead and do the +3.5. It might be juiced. Obviously, it might be juiced. But let's go ahead and give it a stab. You'll see that pop up on the board. If you're a premium member, you'll get the alert in the Discord whenever that drops. Or we have an app. We do have an app. I didn't officially do a whole slide or anything. We got an app. It's in the Apple App Store. Go in there. We Want Picks. Search it, find it, download it, log in with your premium. I'll do a full tutorial. Josh the web guy might watch this and be like, why the hell did you tell people about the app? We're not ready yet. I'm sorry, Josh. But this is the last event. We have an app. And you'll get an alert on there when we place bets as well. Then we have Davey Grant taking on Ramon Taveras. And it's actually Ramon. Ramon. Davey Grant, been around for a little bit of a while. Busy striker. He utilizes kicks for range, punches for damage. He's got some real power. A lot of people forget that he started his UFC career as a grappler. And then he developed over time, got comfortable with his hands. Found a power here and there, had a couple of knockouts and said, wait, I can box with people. And now he's striking quite a bit as well. With 12 fights under the UFC banner, he's also built himself some solid fight IQ. Even when he gets dropped, which is more often than you'd like, he stays composed. He's able to work through it. He's coming off that loss to Daniel Marcos, where it was clear that he was not the better fighter, but he had plenty of forward pressure. He's taking on Ramon Taveras. This guy's a powerful striker. He keeps his hands low. He protects himself from takedowns, and then he likes to counter-strike on his way in. He's got incredible power. He's very fast with his hands. He does stand southpaw, and he absolutely will launch power with incredible speed. He does a great job mixing shots to the body and the head while also pumping a jab. His takedown defense is okay. He has a decent get-up game if he is taken down, and he's coming off that close win in his UFC debut where he didn't throw in combinations, but he did showcase some power. And listen, here's the reality. Davey Grant was not good when he was 28 years old, so he's certainly not good at 38 years old. He's a pretty durable guy in general, but I think Ramon's power and hand speed are going to be big issues for the guy. I think Davey's just blind forward pressure with nothing behind it is going to walk him into some bigger shots. Ramon is the pick. And even though there is a big experience gap here, I think Ramon's going to look pretty good here. So Ramon Taveras is going to be the pick. And frankly, you're going to get some decent value on him as he sits right now. Then we have, I believe, the biggest favorite on the entire card, Miranda Maverick, taking on Jamey-Lyn Horth. And I get her being a big favorite, but I will say, it's not the first time Miranda Maverick's been the biggest favorite on the card and makes things nail-biters because she's not a finisher. She's a very good fighter. She's got all the skills. I'm about to pick her to win here, but she's not a finisher. So you end up biting your nails for 15 full minutes, hoping something crazy doesn't happen along the way. Miranda is a pressure fighter. She's got solid takedowns, good activity. She's very strong. She does use that strength well. She's averaging a little more than 2 takedowns per fight, but when she cannot get takedowns, she can struggle a little bit. She does have a positive striking differential of about 4-3, but the goal typically is to work forward and get a takedown. She's coming off that decision win over Dione Barbosa, where she had a handful of takedowns in 8 minutes of control. She's taking on Jamey-Lyn Horth, very big for this weight class. She does move well. She mixes up various kickboxing techniques while pressuring. She has high fight IQ, and she follows a game plan well. Her takedown defense, however, is just not very good. But she does work her way back up if she is taken down. She's coming off that close win over Ivana Petrovic, where she had an armbar attempt, but it was clear that she just does not have good grappling. And there's some people that I pick very well. Brian Battle's one of them, even though that fight was a little closer than it should have been. And Miranda Maverick is another. I picked against her in the Jasmine loss because I knew she wouldn't be able to get the takedowns. But I have picked her to win in most other fights, and we're riding that success. Because in most other fights, like this one, Miranda can dictate the grappling, and when she can dictate the grappling, she wins. I think Miranda moves forward. I think she pressures Jamie, and I think she gets this fight to the ground. After seeing how bad Jamie's wrestling defense is, I'm pretty confident in Miranda, so Miranda is the pick, and this fight will go to a decision. So let's see what the odds are on the over 2.5, and let's see what the odds are on the money line Miranda. And if the over 2.5 is anywhere near the money line, then the over 2.5 makes more sense because I do not see a finish here, and the over 2.5 accounts for Jamie showing up with some takedown defense and having some success. And even if Jamie lands with some of that big power, Miranda's tough. She's not a quitter. She's never going to quit on you. Worst case scenario for Miranda Maverick is she can't get the takedowns going, and she just gets dotted up. I don't see that happening, though. She should win this fight outright. Then we have Miles Johns taking on Felipe Lima. This is an interesting fight that we do not yet have odds for. So we'll find out. Maybe there'll be odds by the time you're watching this. But I am assuming Miles Johnston is going to be the dog and Felipe is going to be the favorite here. Miles was supposed to fight Cody Garbrandt back in November, but Cody was injured, so that fight was scrapped. So he essentially has 2 fight camps in a little over a month. Miles is a good, strong wrestler. He's got heavy hands, explosive speed. He seems to have a love-hate relationship with that wrestling because at one point it was the only thing he did. Then he found some power, had a couple of knockouts. He abandoned it entirely to just sit on right hands. But now he seems to be heading back to the right direction, leveling out, using the wrestling again. He is coming off that 4th win in a row. This time was a striking win over Douglas Silva de Andrade. He's taking on Felipe Lima. Felipe Lima is a bantamweight prospect. Okay, you heard me right. Bantamweight. But he does seem to be sticking around featherweight. He's a well-rounded guy. He's got some creative striking, some good grappling. He'll showcase with some spinning jump kicks, some doubles, and then he'll just pick you up over his head before slamming you down. He does a nice job transitioning between striking and grappling to keep his opponents on their toes. He doesn't have much power, but he sets an incredible pace and can break people. He's coming off that short-notice UFC debut win where he was going, it was tied going in the 3rd, 1-1, before he got a takedown and a submission. I thought he was losing that fight. I didn't have it 1-1. I had it 0-2, and Felipe needed a finish to get the win, and he did get a finish, which for a young guy making his UFC debut, that actually was really impressive. I mentioned we don't have odds yet, but if you check the public picks, you go over to Tapology and you check their little scale there, the internet has picked Felipe at 89%, which is very surprising. I understand he's young. He's got some dog in him. He has an incredible record overall, but I feel like people are just dismissing Miles John. He's a strong wrestler. He's got some power. We saw Felipe slow down in his last fight, and I think that can be chalked up to short notice. But until I see him compete against the UFC veteran like Miles Johns, it's going to be hard to confidently pick him. Felipe is definitely the more talented of the two, but if Miles decides to actually wrestle, come with that forward pressure, not just sit on right hands, I think he can win. The problem is you can't trust him to wrestle. So Miles Johns is actually going to be the pick here. I'm going with the veteran savvy and the wrestling in the back pocket. But zero money at stake. Again, I can't repeat this enough because people just don't seem to get it. Picks and bets are not the same thing. Picking Miles Johns does not mean I bet on Miles Johns. Now, if he is like a 5-1 underdog, I've picked him to win, maybe I'll see if I can find some value there, like inside the distance decision, no action. Because if anybody's going to finish here, it'll be Miles. Miles is tough. Even though he gasses, slows down, he's tough. And he'll just take his beating if that's what it comes down to. But I do think he can sneak one out. Then we have the battle of the longs. We got a long-ass neck versus some long-ass legs. We got Sean Woodson taking on Fernando Padilla. And Sean Woodson is very, very long. Like, it's actually insane. The build is nuts. It's legs for days, and not in like a weird, like that's how you complimented women in the 50s. She got legs for days. It's legs for days, torso like this, and then arms like that. He could scratch his knees standing vertical, not bent, nothing, just scratch the top of his knees. Anyway, that ridiculous build has been working very well for him here. He had an actual boxing career before moving to MMA. He manages distance unbelievably well. He's one of the few fighters who actually knows how to use their reach because of that professional boxing background. And given how good his hands are, most people are going to try to take him down, but that's not an easy task. He has an 84% takedown defense. He does an unbelievable job stretching those ridiculously long legs so you can't get your hands together and work. He's coming off a pretty one-sided win over Alex Caceres, where he controlled the striking. He's taking on Fernando Padilla. Not only does he have a neck as long as an arm, he's a rangy guy, but instead of using that reach, he likes to fight in the pocket. He likes to keep it dirty. He's an aggressive striker who plots forward with pocket-style boxing. He works to the clinch, and then he'll fire up some knees. If you're unlucky enough to get it to the ground, he uses length to wrap you up and work various submissions. He likes to come forward and take risks, but he has no wrestling whatsoever. So if he wants a fight on the ground, he's going to need you to get it there or jump guard. He's coming off that submission win over the debuting Luis Palayo. In the 90s, you know the 90s? Wild colors. People smoked in restaurants. In the 90s, we were all rooting for Littlefoot and the other long necks in the land before time. But this weekend, I will be rooting for long legs. I think Sean runs away with it. He's too good at managing range to get crowded by a guy who can eat the leaves off the top of an oak tree without using his arms. Sean should be able to dance around and touch Fernando up. If Fernando wants to have success, he will need to close the distance, which is going to be hard. Or he's going to need to get it to the ground, which is virtually impossible. Sean is the pick. I think he continues this impressive unbeaten streak. The problem is, here's what's a little scary, guys. Every now and then, We'll get these fighters. I don't know what that was. We'll get these fighters who are slowly building up these like quiet, under the radar win streaks. And Sean's win streak right now is very impressive. And then when we're starting to finally be like, hey, wait, this guy's win streak is actually really good. What's going on here? They get smoked. This could be that. I'm going to pick Sean Woodson here because he has just continued to win. At a certain point, you just got to trust what you see with your own eyes. But Fernando Padilla is a lot better than even myself have given him credit for it. Then we have a very interesting fight. We got Joel Alvarez taking on Drakkar Klose. This is interesting because both of them are good. One of them has been far more consistent than the other, but both of these fighters are very good, and they are not indicative of these odds. There should not be a 3-1 favorite in this fight. Straight up, this should be -110, -110. Maybe, if you want to be like, oh, Joel Alvarez has looked like the stud lately, maybe -140. And +120 on the other side. But no way should there be a 3-1 favorite in this fight. And I'm going to talk about the dog first because Drakkar Klose is a very good wrestler. And then over time, he developed some striking. He was a state champion wrestler who uses his wrestling offense. He's got a little bit of issues defending takedowns, but it won't matter in this fight. His solid boxing combined with power and speed has suited him pretty well. Overall, he's a well-rounded guy who can go the distance or finish a fight. He's coming off that decision win over Joaquim Silva, where he was dropped, and that's not a great sign, but he managed to survive a guillotine choke by launching himself backwards, Michael Chandler style, and ultimately getting it done. He's taking on Joel Alvarez, very tall for this division at 6'3", and he uses that length and reach pretty well. He's got solid kicks, okay boxing, but very good grappling. His grappling is interesting because he has gotten a single takedown in the UFC. Has not one. No takedowns, 0. You see the zeros there? 0 takedowns in the UFC. In fact, he hasn't defended one either. And it may be easy to take him down, but he has submitted 4 of the 5 people who have. He's coming off that TKO win over Elves Brenner, where his striking in general looked absolutely fantastic, and his knees specifically got it done. And I am a vocal Joel Alvarez hater. It started all the way back in 2022, when I said Arman Tsarukyan, who was a 2-1 favorite at the time, would beat him. And the insane Joel loyalists came from my head like I didn't pick a 2-1 favorite. And I wish I screenshotted more stuff back then, but the reality is people went nuts. And you could probably find the video if you got a little bit of time. The comment section was wild. The people that were all over Joel, blah, 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 blah. Literally, like, you're an idiot, you know nothing. But I picked a 2-1 favorite. I said this guy's a nasty wrestler. He's going to take him down, elbow sandwiches. And that's exactly what we got in that fight. But my hate shouldn't have been directed at Joel. It was the loyalists, the clueless people who insist that he was the next coming of Christ. And I was wrong. And for that reason, I was rooting against Joel in every single fight so that those people could continue to suffer. I'm a very spiteful age. But my eyes are open now. I get it. At a certain point, I need to cleanse the hate from my heart and move on. This is not that point. Drakkar smokes here. He smokes Joel. No, I'm kidding, guys. I did come into this looking for a reason to pick against Joel. Somebody commented last week, oh, my most confident pick is Joel Alvarez. And I was like, good luck with that. And I was being 100% genuine. Then, I watched the tape and I was like, fuck. Joel looked so good in his last fight. The hands looked so good. And we all know his jiu-jitsu is very good. So Drakkar Klose is stuck with a very good striker that if he takes to the ground, he's going to be in a little bit of trouble. I still strongly believe this is a very close fight on paper. There should not be a 3-1 favorite here. But I do think Joel will get it done. If his hands look as good in this fight as it did last fight, that's a problem for Drakkar. If his ground game is as good as it's ever been, that's a problem for Drakkar. So reality is Joel Alvarez has more ways to win this fight. Drakkar's the only one that can control the in-between, though. If he needs it to get to the ground, he can. If he wants to keep it on his feet, he can. So if Drakkar's having success striking, Joel's screwed because he has no ability to do anything else. Like, he can't. Without the ability to offensively wrestle, you cannot control where a fight goes. I'm still going to pick Joel, but I think these odds are crazy. Let me know if I'm dead wrong. You people love doing that shit. They've got Michael Johnson, taking Ottman Azaitar. Guys, it is 7:42 in the morning. I was sitting in this chair in a different outfit at 2 o'clock in the morning filming the UFC 310 recap. So then obviously you lay down. You're all jazzed up from the fights, the success we had. I can't just close my eyes, so I got to wind down. So I'm trying to wind down. I probably fell asleep at 4 o'clock. Woke up at 6, and here I am. So yeah, I said Michael Jackson instead of Johnson. My bad, guys. Oh, Ange is the worst. Michael Johnson taking on Ottman Azaitar. I believe this is the featured prelim of the evening. Michael Johnson, tried and true vet, who has an incredible long resume. It's easy to look at the 19 losses and say, well, this guy kind of sucks, right? But if you actually look at the 19 losses, they're to good people. Beneil Dariush, Nate Diaz when he was good, Khabib, Justin Gaethje. He's fought everybody. Skill-wise, he's very good. He's a talented striker. He doesn't have a ton of power, but he does have nice footwork. He's got a positive striking differential, the occasional takedown. Takedown defense is even more impressive at 81%, and all of those stats are insane when you consider the level of competition he has been fighting for the past 15 years. He is old in human years. He's even older in fight years, but he did just beat Darius Flowers back in February. He's taking on Ottman Azaitar, a powerful striker who wants chaos. He just wants to be in a firefight. If you come forward, he will plant his feet and he will fire away. If you don't come forward, then he will. He'll walk you down. He'll throw leg kicks. He'll throw wild punches. He's looking to set things up. He has 4 fights in the UFC with 2 wins and 2 losses and has not seen a second round. You would typically want to get him to the ground, but he does have some pretty good takedown defense. He's coming off that first round KO loss to Francisco Prado. It was just 18 months ago that Michael Johnson was on the wrong end of a very bad, looked like career-ending knockout. But here we are, breaking down a 38-year-old Michael Johnson who's coming off a win, and we're breaking him down with confidence. That is a wild world. Saying he wins this fight is a crazy thing. Johnson is the better fighter everywhere outside of just raw power. And even though he is old, he should be able to control the striking, potentially get takedowns, and ultimately win this fight. Ottman's cardio is god-awful, and outside of a one-punch KO, I don't see him winning. With that being said, Michael Johnson can be one-punch KO'd. So be careful with your money here. I've seen a lot of people insanely confident in Michael Johnson, and yes, he should win this fight. But, Ottman Azaitar still hits insanely hard. And if he just happens to land, it's a problem for a lot of people. And guys, what's not a problem is me giving you $50. I'll give it to you. Just go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. We have affiliate links for multiple book partners. You use the link, you sign up, you make a deposit. They will pay me, right? It's an affiliate link. And then I slice off some of that money and I give it right back to you. Very simple, very easy. WeWantPicks.com/bets. And then also, we're expanding the content, right? I've been filming some hot takes, experimenting with some thumbnails. This is the latest hot take with what seems to be a popular thumbnail. It's about Jamahal Hill and how unbelievably cringy this guy has become. How this man went from top of the world UFC light heavyweight champion to one of the most laughed at fighters in the division is insane. Check that video out. It's only 4 or 5 minutes. And we're going to do some more of those rapid fire Angie hot takes coming up. Here's another look at that safety parlay. Hey, listen, it's the beacon of stability. And like everything else, there are ups and downs. There's 2 weeks ago, safety parlay lost. But you zoom out, right? This is about consistency. And we're not like one of those absolute loser weirdos who hasn't had a winning year since 2016. And they're like, whoa. What do you mean I suck? Over the last 10 years, I made some money. No, you don't zoom out that far. But you zoom out a little bit to see, hey, is this long-term success or is this just some you got lucky last night? Well, safety parlay and the rest of the show would show you its long-term success. 8 of the last 9 safety parlays hit. Safety parlay is up on the year guaranteed. Safety parlay is delivering at an 80% ROI. And those are wild numbers for the beacon of stability in MMA betting. Here's the last 14 cards. It's not just one single bet doing well. The last 14 cards, I've been up 12 of them. And if you compare those two numbers there were some weeks where the safety parlay didn't hit, but we were still up overall. And that's an important note to make. The safety parlay is just one single bet. So not only is that one bet wildly consistent, But in the occasional event where that consistent beacon of stability bet doesn't hit, the rest do. And this is what that looks like. A 25% ROI over the last 14 fight cards. Guys, I don't know what the hell else you could possibly want or need. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It is freaking $10. $10. You're going to spend more than that today at Burger King and then hate yourself after that. Get a $2 salad, right? Treat your body nice. Nice. $2 salad. I mean, you're still going to need to find, $8 more and then another $2 to get premium. But it's $10. Cheap fucks. That was a weird analogy. And it's not just copy-paste bets, guys. There's tools. Data Analyzer, I am going to pump this. I'm going to continue to mention it because literally, in the off weeks, this is the most important tool. The UFC has a couple of week break. This is the most important tool heading into that. Because yes, I am going to continue to break down fights and give you bets and picks and all that. But this will help you get well into February, March. Check out those events, those announced fights, and get way ahead of the movement. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. It's freaking $10. Think about all the dumb shit you spend $10 on and what you could have spent it on if you weren't cheap. Here's the address. We're doing one more vlog this year, holiday vlog. If you do want to send a letter, a shirt, you want to promote your small business, by all means. We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406 in Prosper, Texas, 75078. For UFC 310, Philip Bacon. That's a real name. That's a real human being. Sent us a couple of shirts that he made for Joshua Van. Jacob wasn't very pleased because Jacob's lock of the week was Cody Durden, but we opened the shirts. We talked about the shirts. We shot you out. P.O. Box 406, Prosper, Texas, 75078. Let's go ahead and break down this main card. There are a couple adjustments. The Amanda Hebos-Mackenzie Dern fight was moved from this card to UFC Vegas 101. If you sign up to become a premium member today, you'll get UFC Vegas 101 in there, so you can get that breakdown for then. I don't know why that was moved. I don't know if there was an injury or what, but so we got a new co-main event and a new card in general. Went from 14 fights to 13. And opening up the UFC Tampa main card, we have Navajo Stirling taking on Tokkos. Navajo Stirling, former kickboxer. He is very early in his MMA career. But as a kickboxer, he does a lot of things you would expect him to do. Nice combination, works in kicks pretty well. He'll invest in the body early. He's not a high-volume guy, but he does a great job making the strikes he does throw be meaningful. If he's inside the pocket, he will absolutely plumb that head and throw up some knees. The question about Navajo is, what does the grappling look like? And unfortunately, I honestly don't have an answer for you. There's just not enough Navajo Stirling fights to see if the grappling is there or not. Sure, he defended a few takedowns in his last fight, but that was against another kickboxer. So it wasn't really indicative of anything meaningful. He's taking on Tokkos. His real name is George. I don't know how the hell he went from George to Tuco, but I'm sure if you Google a little bit, you'll find it. He's a grappler at his core. He has expanded his skills. And while he is a grappler, instead of forcing fights to the ground, he likes to wait for you. He wants to see you overcommit, bomb on a right hand, and then he'll lower his level, charge forward. He's Bilal Muhammad-esque. He's not nearly as good. He's Bilal Muhammad-esque where, if he gets on top, he's got incredible control and good pressure. He's got decent cardio, no power whatsoever, but a pretty straightforward game plan that works for him on the regional scene. He is coming off that submission loss to an absolute beast in a short notice UFC debut, and I think that loss is why these odds are what they are. Tuco's not great. He's got an inflated record with a bunch of regional wins over nobodies, but he does have takedowns, and there are a ton of questions about Navajo's ability to keep a fight standing. I'm going to pick Navajo here because the striking gap is going to be much wider than what I'm assuming the grappling gap is. But it's an assumption. I don't know. You don't know. Don't bet on this damn fight. Nobody in the history of ever, never, ever, ever, should anybody ever bet on a 5-1 UFC debut favorite who only has 5 fights. Never, ever, ever, never, ever. Don't do it ever. And somebody, after Navajo wins this weekend, will be like, I cashed on that. Why, though? Why? You don't need to take unnecessary risks to make 88 cents. I don't take unnecessary risks, and I've been crushing it lately. Don't do it. A 5-1 favorite. Already the odds kind of suck. But you know what? If the odds suck and you're getting a Chase Hooper taking on a 42-year-old Clay Guida, it's all right. Like, the value's not there, but like, we're so nuts confident it's okay. That's not what we have here, is it? 5-1 favorite on a UFC debut who only has 5 fights, and he's a kickboxer fighting a grappler. If you get burned if you bet on him and you get burned, You need to come out publicly so we can do the shame bell and just really let you have it. Then we have Adrian Yanez taking on Daniel Marcos. This should be a really good fight, potentially fight of the night. Adrian Yanez, a fun technical striker, high striking IQ, fast hands, real power, solid chin. He can be a bit of a slow starter. If you dig in the stats, you're going to see that he was outstruck in the first round of 4 of his last 6 fights. He has 9 fights in the UFC. 5 of them were fight of the night bonuses, and 6 of them were stoppage wins. He's got very good takedown defense at 100%. 0 offensive takedowns so far in the UFC. He shines in technical exchanges, and he has very clean boxing. He is coming off that first round knockout win over a typical, pretty durable Vinicius Salvador. He's taking on Daniel Marcos. Daniel's an effective striker. He's got power. He's got accuracy. He does a nice job stringing together combinations and marching forward. He'll throw 1-2s, follow up with flying knees and elbows. His takedown defense is solid at 87%, and he has 8 KOs and 8 decisions, split right down the middle. So we know he is dangerous, and he's got cardio for at least 3 rounds. He's coming off the destruction of Sexy Mexi, where the striking looked great, and so did the takedown defense. And when you do what Jacob and I do, and we've been doing it for a couple of years, nothing crazy, you break down some fights, you make some content, it's interesting because over time you will build relationships, good or bad, with fighters and the community. Those relationships can, of course, build some biases. Luckily for you, fighters like Jacob more than they like me. For example, Jairzinho Rosenstruik, who joined the call-in show, called me out for not picking him. And he's always using my audio to troll me. Isaac Bulgarian also joined the call-in show, specifically to shit on my criticism of him after his last fight. Adrian Yanez is another fighter who joined the call-in show and had some comments for Big Ange. I'm going to preface my pick with that information to get ahead of the whole, well, Yanez was on their show, so of course he likes Yanez. But here's the reality of this fight. It will be striking only. I don't imagine any of them are going to shoot a takedown. Yes, Marcos made Sexy Mexi look dumb as hell, and he is undefeated, but we have yet to see him fight another high-level striker. I think Yanez is a little faster, and I think he has the better hands. Marcos has more diversity in the strikes, but unless he starts working those kicks early and faking some takedown attempts, he's going to end up in a boxing match. And I think Adrian Yanez is the better boxer. I'm going to pick Yanez here, but I can't bet on this fight. There's too many unknowns. We just don't know how good Marcos is. He continues to win. He's 16-0, and that is wildly impressive. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Adrian Yanez is going to be the best striker he has ever fought, and he's also mostly a striker. So I think this is the fight where we find out how good Daniel Marcos is or is not. Then we have Dustin Jacoby taking on Vitor Petrino. Vitor Petrino is a monster. He's got a good left hook. Dangerous striker. He is evolving into a grappler. He has 16 takedowns in his last 5 fights. His takedown defense is just okay, but he does a nice job working his way up and avoiding danger. He is very green still, but he is evolving as a fighter and leaning more towards grappling, but he's learning every single day. Every time he steps in the cage, he's a little better than the time before. He is going to be a problem for a lot of people, but he does need to button some things up. He's coming off that submission loss to Anthony Smith, where it took a few leg kicks, and then he took a shot, and ultimately he was guillotined. So it's hard to say what I said, that no, he's good, he's improving, and then see that he was just submitted by Anthony Smith, but it was more of a fluke than anything. He's taking on Dustin Jacoby, a high-level kickboxer who during his kickboxing stint was ranked very highly in the world. He does a great job keeping things technical, working your legs. He's technically sound. He's got okay power, good volume. He has a 60% takedown defense, but that number is actually understated. He has very solid takedown defense. He does a good job making you pay, hurting you on the way in. He's coming off that KO loss to Dominic Reyes that unfortunately confirmed that Dustin Jacoby's chin isn't quite what it used to be. This is MMA. It is not boxing. And I'm saying that because in boxing, if you lose, your career's over, you suck, you're a bum, goodbye, we invest in the wrong person. In MMA, you lose. There's too many ways to lose. Literally, you can lose by submission. You can lose by decision. There's too many ways to lose. So very, very few people get to go undefeated. And I'm not a big fraud check narrative kind of guy because first of all, people use that term wrong. Secondly, does getting caught in a submission by a UFC veteran who fought for a title make you a fraud? No. It makes you somebody that got caught in a submission doing something a little casual. That's it. I do not think Vitor Petrino was fraud checked. But I do have an issue with how he handled that loss. He didn't seem to care. He literally was smiling and laughing it off like, whatever. I can only hope that in his in-cage reaction, it was just temporary. Like, he didn't know what to do. Like, man, I can't believe this happened. And hopefully that fueled some growth in the gym. I am going to pick Petrino here because he hits so damn hard and Dustin's chin doesn't seem to be what it once was. But Dustin could turn this into a dogfight, and I better not see Vitor smiling without a care in the world like he didn't lose his last fight. So Vitor Petrino is going to be the pick. But it is concerning when you see fighters lose and not seem to care. Granted, it was a very quick loss. It was a very fluky loss. So it's like, I could see somebody being like, what are you going to do? I can see that reaction a little more in a loss like that than if he just got his ass kicked for 3 full rounds. But still, you don't love to see it. Then we have Manel Kape taking on Bruno Silva. Manel Kape famously beat Kai Asakura twice. He did it with striking. He didn't do it the way Pantoja did, but he did beat him a couple of times. And the UFC just spent millions of dollars in advertising telling us that Kai was one of the best fighters in the world. And Manel beat that guy 2 times. Manel Kape is a fast and explosive striker. He has no issues chasing knockouts. He's a southpaw with good pressure. He bounces in and out of range really well. He's a decent wrestler when he needs to be. He'll close that distance when he wants to. He's very fun to watch, but at times can have too much fun. He looks to put on a show. That, however, was not the case in his last fight, which essentially was a staring contest with Muhammad Mokaev. He's taking on Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva is a well-rounded guy. He's got solid power, strong wrestling, nasty submissions. He's literally good everywhere. He's not clean, he's not technical, but he is very tough, and he likes to make fights ugly. He started his UFC career with a bit of a skid, but he managed to string together 2 knockouts before a pretty long layoff. He has come back from that layoff with a submission win over Tyson Nam, and more recently, a knockout win over Cody Durden. Bruno Silva is good, but Manel Kape is better. It's literally that simple. Bruno's more of a bruiser. Manel's going to be too clean. He's going to have too good of footwork to get stuck in a random brawl. Kape wins this fight, likely a decision because of the toughness on the other side, and I think there's still some value in his odds. Then we got Cub Swanson taking on Billy Quarantillo in a co-main event in 2024. Cubby, a little old, 31, 41. Billy Quarantillo's not young himself, but Cub Swanson's a tried and true vet. He's earned himself a co-main event slot on a fight night, especially with the removal of the Amanda Ribas fight. Cub Swanson, much like Clay Guida, who we broke down last week, is a legend. He's been a legend for a very long time. He's a creative striker with incredible fight IQ and a ton of fun to watch. He's definitely old, he's definitely slow, but he's still very tough. You don't get to legend status without being diverse, which means Cub can also wrestle. He can grapple. He averages a little more than 1 takedown per fight. Cub is the better all-around fighter in most matchups, including this one, but age is a bitch, and he's coming off that close loss to Andre Fili. He's taking on Billy Q. Billy Q is a very good grappler. He's got solid striking, incredible aggression. His striking is not technical, but his offense is effective with almost 8 significant strikes landed per minute. Ultimately, Billy has a weird style. He's got fantastic BJJ. He has only a 23% takedown accuracy, but he does have 10 takedowns in 11 fights. He's coming off that submission loss to Yusuf Zalal 2.0. This is another situation where the pick and the bet are going to be different things. I think Billy can win this fight because he will be a touch faster. He'll have the better movement. But even at his advanced age and closing in on needing an AARP card, Cub is tough as hell and can still hang in the division. For pick purposes, which as I have said many times, picks and bets are not the same damn thing, I am going to lean Billy. But there's 2 bets, 1, 2, that I am considering. Waiting for the odds. If we somehow get lucky enough for 1.5 round line, I'm going to hammer the over. Because I do think this fight's going to go to a decision. So 1.5 is safe enough. That also opens up the possibility for a plus 3.5 bet on Cub Swanson. Cub Swanson can absolutely win a round. His last couple of fights, that's all he's done is very, very close fights. Split decisions, back and forth. So I think Cub Swanson can win a round. Therefore, I think a plus 3.5 bet makes a lot of sense. We got to wait for that to drop. Looking for the odds. They usually drop on late Mondays, early Tuesdays. If you're not a premium member, become one, you cheap son of a bitch. If you are a premium member, keep an eye out, and you'll get the alert if and when we place that bet. And then we have the main event of the evening. This is a good main event. This is a spectacular fight night main event. To go from fighting for a world title in your last fight to short notice main eventing a card in Tampa is a bit of a rise and fall situation, but it's still a very good fight. Joaquin Buckley is surging right now. Colby Covington is who he is. We know who he's been. So this is a good main event that's going to answer a lot of questions for both of these gentlemen's careers. The latest version of Colby Covington, the one that we saw in the last fight versus the Colby Covington we've seen in every other fight before that, are completely different people. The original, the OG version of Colby, who fought for the belt 3 times, I believe, is a great wrestler. He's shown an incredible amount of heart, grit, nonstop forward pressure. The striking was okay, but the pace, the pressure was absolutely relentless. But this version, the one that we just saw fight for the 4th time for a title, was anything but. He was slow. He was tentative. Didn't do any of the typical Colby Covington things until the fight was too far gone. All of a sudden, he's wrestling late. Where was that? That should have been the first and second round. What's even more frustrating, other than getting outstruck by a Brit, was even more frustrating is the immediate fight after that was Bilal Muhammad doing to Leon Edwards what we all thought Colby could and should do based off of Colby's history. He's taking on Joaquin Buckley, a powerful striker with plenty of movement, good forward pressure. He cuts angles really well. We all knew he had power, and we all know he carries that power late in the fights, but we didn't know he had a little bit of dog in him, and now we do. Because he just beat Wonderboy Thompson. He was losing that fight. He was a step behind, struggling with that karate range. And he didn't quit on himself. And he kept coming. He kept launching power, charging forward. Incredible movement, incredible speed. Ultimately found that spot and got it done. This fight is a lot harder to break down than the almost 3-1 odds are going to have you think. This sport is a what have you done for me lately sport. More so than any other sport in the history. Period. Like, it's crazy. You lose one fight and you're a plus 205 dog to a guy that hasn't accomplished 1/5 of what you've done. The problem is, he didn't just lose the fight. He was a shell of himself. The insane pressure, the wrestling, all gone. And we don't know what version of Colby is going to show up. If the original version of Colby shows up, the crazy pressure, the wrestling, the nonstop, that will beat Joaquin Buckley. It just straight up will. There's only so many bouncing around that Joaquin can do before he's taken down a handful of times. But if we get the Colby that was in his last fight, the washed up Colby, the slowed Colby, the Colby that's training at a small gym instead of the American Top Team gym, then he gets smoked. And that's the problem with Colby Covington. I talk about him in the hot take video with how cringy is Jamahal Hill. Because Colby Covington, I believe, is actually a decent human being. If you go watch that, the now canceled show with Brendan Schaub, where he eats at a food truck and has conversations with people, Colby Covington talks very openly about his persona. Like, yeah, that's not who I am. I'm not like the MAGA guy through and through. That's not really who I am. It's a character, and it's getting me paid. And my family has abandoned me because of it. And it's almost sad to see. And I'm being genuine right now. Because if it is a persona, if this is who he actually is and everything he has said and done is authentic, then, it is what it is. But if it's just a persona to sell tickets and he's losing friends and family over it, he's got kicked out of his gym over it, that's sad. That's sad because when he was at American Top Team and he had high-level training partners and him and Masvidal were very good friends, roommates even, Colby Covington was a beast. But then he moved to MMA Masters, clearly the best person in that gym. And he had a little success early because he was carrying the skill set with him that he already had. But the zero improvements whatsoever, the lack of activity over the last couple of years, Colby Covington's fall is crazy. And if it has to do with his persona and that persona ruining relationships, that's nuts. And it's his own fault. Obviously, you control the things that come out of your mouth. But even if it is an act, I don't know. I feel like maybe behind the scenes be like, hey, bro, everything I'm saying is bullshit, right? I love you. Just, we're good, right? Something. I don't know. So I'm going to pick Joaquin Buckley because it is a what have you done for me lately sport. And that last fight did not seem like a fluke. It didn't just seem like one fight. He's a little off. It seemed like, I think it's a little late. He's 36 years old. He's obviously slowing down. The choosing not to wrestle is crazy. That's his only chance in this fight. It was his only chance in that fight. Didn't work for him. Joaquin Buckley's going to be the pick. Not sure if I'm going to bet on it. Guys, that's the breakdown. Here's a reminder of how freaking good we have been at this. Last 14 cards have been wild. And if you've been here for that, you're welcome. And thank you, honestly. If you have been watching and you didn't become a premium member and you're on the fence, fucking $10. And you know why it's $10? Because we're building the best possible product on planet Earth with the best possible value on planet Earth. You know the store Costco? You might not have it where you're from. That's what Costco has done. They sell you incredible quality things at an incredible value. So you just walk into a Costco knowing damn well everything in there is of the utmost quality and you know you're getting the best possible price. And that is why they're a freaking beloved store that has been growing like crazy because they have built that reputation. That's what we're trying to do here. Keep it at $10 and it will remain at $10. And we have some surprises for you with some upcoming tools and some refreshes. It will always stay $10. And that's because A, this is a volatile sport. If somebody's charging more than $10, they're just greedy. Dude, there's some crooked tooth Brits, no offense to the non-crooked tooth Brits, that are charging triple digits. It's insane. And they suck at it. It's insane. And that's just greed, right? That's I don't know. That's just, hey, if I can trick 10 people, I can make some money. That's not what we're doing here. We are quite literally trying to build the best product that has ever existed in this. We're already there, first of all. We are already there. And we're just going to continue to widen that gap. I want to create a world because I am Angie burn it down for everybody else. That is who I am. I don't want, like I understand, oh, everybody can succeed. No, fuck you. I don't want other people to succeed. I am trying to build a product where I sell what I sell for $10 so nobody else can sell anything because it's just not worth the money. Here's how the bets have been going. Here's the tools. This is quite literally the single greatest research tool ever designed. Period. End of story. Period. And if you want a feature added to it, let us know because we coded the damn thing and we can add features on a whim. You're also going to get other tools like the line movement tracker, opening odds, current odds, win probability, and line movement. You're going to get a prop hunter, curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. There's literally something for everybody. Copy paste guy, boom, got it. Do your own research guy, boom, got it. Data guy, boom, got it. Like foreigners guy, boom, got it. We got a foreigner. We got Artem breaking down fights from New Zealand. And he is great during the break because Artie Baby breaks down all cards, not just UFC. Guys, there's a theme here. Greatest value in this space. We appreciate every last one of you. 4,500 of you. We got 100 new people yesterday. 4,500 of you became premium members. Still are premium members. Active premium members. Appreciate every last freaking one of you. And all I can do is week in and week out, do these videos, do this content, put up the best bets that I can think of, and continue to make this service incredible. Thank you guys for everything you have done for me and Jacob and the rest of the We Want Picks crew. You're all unbelievably appreciated. If you're not a premium member, become one. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. If you want $50, use the affiliate link. Sign up, make a deposit. We'll send you 50. We have an insane amount of requests. I will admit I'm a little behind. If you've submitted the claim, didn't get your bucks, reach out. I'll take a look. Thank you guys so much, genuinely, for everything, and good luck at UFC Tampa.